Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing absolutely amazing. I know long form after a very long time, but today is a very special video with one of my school friends, Jishnu. So Jishnu participated in GSOC 2022 and today he's going to talk about how you can make relevant open source contributions in order to get selected in GSOC. He's also going to talk about how you can write an amazing proposal and increase your chances of getting selected. Let's get started. Okay, so hi Jishnu, welcome to my channel. How are you?
Hey Gaurika, thanks for having me. I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. Okay, so before we start, I would really like a very brief introduction of you. So what college are you from? What organization are you into right now?
Yeah. So I'm from Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology. I did my BTech in CSE and I passed out in 2023. So it was June 2023. I did my Google Summer of Code. It was a large project. Google Summer of Code in 2022. It was the third year of my college back then, and I participated in GSOC with OP organization, and it was an Android project. So usually the large projects that there are 6 months projects, and the medium projects are have a duration of 3 months.
Right. So you mentioned that you participated in OPIA in Android development, right? So how did you start learning Android development? I mean, what was your journey over the 4 years of your college?
Right. So I remember toward the end of my first year, I started discovering things. I tried web development at first. After that, I got my hands on Android development. I did not enjoy web development that much, but when I put my hands on Android, it was one of my favorite things I ever experienced because the Kotlin language, the idiomaticity the Kotlin language brings, and the straightforward way of doing things. I really like that. So I started with building projects. I was not too much into theory and I was never a fan of roadmaps. So I just started building apps right there on. I decided that the first app that I would be building would be to help my college send and receive assignments, because otherwise we were doing it over email or WhatsApp, which was not very reliable because students would never know that a new assignment has been uploaded, or the teachers would never know that that particular student has submitted their assignments and they would never be graded for that. In order to solve this problem only, the assignments app was created. The app, by the way, is today live on Play Store. It has around 10,000 users, and that was my first app. My sole motive at that time was to just ship that app off, nothing else. When I used to learn Android as well, I would just search for things like how to integrate this particular feature into the app or how to do that into the app. I wasn't following any particular roadmap or such. And I believe that it is a good practice. Like, of course, you should go for theory as well, but try to go for the practical part first, because this is how tech should work in my opinion. And meanwhile, on the run, you should also go into the very very theoretical parts and stuff.
I mean, until and unless you don't get your hands dirty, you're not learning properly, I feel.
Yep.
Okay.
After that, I did an internship.
Mm-hmm.
I got the internship because I had created the assignments app. I showcased that, and after that, I had a very good friend circle. I was blessed with a good friend circle, and the people motivated me to participate in GSOC. And some of my friend here already did GSOC in the previous year, like in his second year of college, and he guided me. So I was very motivated to do it, and hence I also participated in GSOC. Uh, OPA organization, in the OPA organization, it was an Android project. By the way, there's something called proposal making in GSOC. Proposal is a document that you show to the to GSOC as a proof of your work. Like, I would be doing this for the next 3 to 6 months, and this is how I would be proceeding with it. I'll be sharing a link with Gaurika, and she'll be sharing the same with you, so that you can also refer to it and have a reference to how a good GSOC proposal should look like.
So what exactly is GSOC, and as a student, why should I participate in GSOC, or why should I not participate in GSOC, and what are the various perks of participating in GSOC?
Okay, so GSOC is an open source event. Now, what we should discuss what open source means. So open source software is software that is available for free on the internet. The most common example would be Telegram app and the VLC media player. These all are the Linux system, the Linux operating system. All these systems are open source systems, and you as a person can go to their code base and say, hey, I would like to see this change on your app or this change on your software. You can also say things like, I would myself would like to volunteer and work on this particular issue, right? And maybe you can just create an issue on their open source repos, and when you actually get assigned to work on that issue, you can make a pull request, and then your changes can get merged there. So basically, the software is open to the world. You can use it, you can contribute to it, and these are called open source softwares. And why you should contribute to open source softwares? The reason is that whatever you contribute, the contribution would be open to the world. It would be openly visible to the world. So when you decide to show this contribution to a recruiter, they would easily be able to gauge what your skills look like, what kind of systems you can handle, what kind of code you can understand, and what kind of logical reasoning and technical aptitude do you have. So you don't even have to give any other proof. Your work speaks for yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is how open source helps people. Also, other things are that you get to learn a lot, because since you are working on softwares that the entire world is using, the entire world has its eyes on that software. So only those pieces of code can get inside, which are absolute nice pieces of code. And while developing that code, you also learn a lot. This is the reason why you should get into open source. We can also talk about how GSOC is different from open source, right? So GSOC is an open source event where there would be mentors who would be there to guide you. Mentors might be available otherwise as well, but when it comes to GSOC, people are themselves prepared to help you. They are there, and their mission is that you as a GSOC student should be able to complete your project. So if we talk in terms of speed, the open source contributions skyrocket there. You can achieve in 6 months what it would take years for you to achieve if you were doing a normal open source contribution, because people around the world would be there to, people who are best in their fields would be there to help you out so that you can carry out your project ahead. Also, when it comes to GSOC, the best GSOC projects out there are the ones that are one and only projects. Like, you are creating a system that is, you are contributing to something that would be given to the world for the first time. There are such projects, right? So there is some kind of motivation that comes along with it. There is some kind of adrenaline that comes along with it, that I am creating something that would be so much meaningful to the entire world. This is why you should do GSOC. Networking is why you should do GSOC, because the connections that you make are very valuable.
Any other perks that come with GSOC?
I would say that a good GSOC project, like there are many kinds of GSOC projects, and here when we talk about the good GSOC projects, they can put you years ahead of the competition. You cannot learn so many things by yourself in such a accelerated time frame as GSOC can help you with. This is the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the GSOC tag, it's something like uh, I won't say it's too much, but somewhere the people who understand open source, it helps.
There's a hype between students and the people who understand open source, right? About the GSOC tag.
There shouldn't be that hype, I believe. You can just contribute to open source otherwise as well. But when we talk about the accelerated time frame, that difference is there because you need to get ahead, right?
Hmm. Okay, so let us talk about the tentative GSOC timeline. कि किस time पे क्या होता है? When are the organizations announced and when are the applications open for students?
Okay, sure. So, like, I'm not usually aware of the same, but what we can do is we can just do a quick look at what the GSOC timeline is. I'll be sharing my screen. Okay, so what you can do is you can just Google Summer of Code 2024 timeline, and this would be the first link. So it says that mentoring organizations will begin submitting their applications to Google on January 22nd. What this means is that the organizations or the companies themselves have to say that, hey, we want to participate in Google Summer of Code this year. They have to say it first, and then Google approves them that, okay, you as an organization can participate here, right? So first the organizations get selected. After that, let's see that where is the timeline where the students have to get their proposals ready by. Yes, so on February 21st, it says that the organizations that got into GSOC would be announced, right? So here you will know that my organization, that the organization that you want to participate with is even participating or not. March 18 is the time when GSOC contributor application period begins. So this is the time when you start creating your proposal. Right, and April 2nd is the time when it says that application deadline. So April 2nd is the day before which you have to submit your proposal. So this is what it is about.
So ideally, when should we start contributing to the organization?
Yeah, so ideally, see, I started contributing in October. The thing is that when you decide that you want to contribute to an organization, you have to download their and set up their code onto your machine, and that is something that can take time, right? It is not always possible that in the first few hours itself the setup gets completed. Sometimes the setup can be complicated. So you should always keep in mind that window that things take time. In order to get into an organization with GSOC, you have to give a proof of your work. The proposal that you submit contains two things. It contains that what is your plan to work on the project that you have chosen. Second is a list of pull requests. Pull requests is like the work that you have already done with the organization, right? So it is like a link to the work that you have already done with the organization. That can be used as a proof that you know how to run the code in this code base. So you want some code to be merged into the official code base before you actually get into the organization, and that process can take time because the merging process comes after many rounds of reviews. When you first submit your code, it would be reviewed. When you submit your code for the first time, there are many review comments or mistakes in it, corrections, errors. The mentors shall would give you those errors. You resolve them, you give it for a second round of review. It comes back with lesser ones. That might take several steps before it can officially get merged. This can sometimes takes even a month, because one of my PRs took a month to get into the code base. So you have to keep a window in mind before the official period begins, because once the proposal period begins, you will all be busy in that proposal making. Then you would have no time to indulge into PRs, pull requests, merging your other code. You would only be focusing on the proposal. So this even today is not late to start. If you want, you can start today, and it would be very nice.
So let's say you're contributing to a particular organization starting October, right? You start contributing in October, and then I think when the organizations which are participating in GSOC are announced in February, right? Around February. And let's say the organization that you've been contributing does not participate
get
in
selected.
GSOC.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that happens, and right, that's sad.
So what do you do in that case?
In that case, see, two things happen. There are two things that you should keep in mind. First thing is that the contributions that you have done to that organizations are not wasted, right? You cannot call a contribution wasted. You can still mention that pieces of code in your proposal to the organization that does get selected, right? So you will decide that I'll be working with another organization, right? But you can still mention that I did this contribution in that code. And the other thing is that what was I saying? Yeah, you should try to pick organizations that have had a track record of getting into GSOC in the last 3 to 4 years.
That would obviously have a lot of competition, right?
Yeah, so right, if an organization has a record of getting into GSOC for the last 3 years, 4 years, then it has higher probability of getting again into this year as well.
Makes sense. So you mentioned that you'll provide some tips and some pointers to remember when it comes to proposal, right? So what are those pointers, or what are the things that we should keep in mind while preparing a proposal, so that the chances of the proposal getting selected increase?
Okay. So I think proposal making is very much organization specific. Some organizations even give guidelines and templates to write their proposals in this particular format. Proposal writing is a skill, right? It's a skill, and it's not just for GSOC. When you get into good organizations, the same proposal making would take another name that is called technical documentation or technical planning. In GSOC it's called proposal, but it's something that is prevalent in all kinds of software spaces, and it's a skill of planning your code. It's a skill of brainstorming all other ideas with team members and taking a decision that would be prudent and scalable and maintainable for the code base that you're working on in the future way. But writing a proposal for a particular organization is very organization specific. There are things though that I would like to discuss here. I get questions from my fellow mates about GSOC, some of which I would like to discuss here. So this one person says that I am not able to decide the organizations I should contribute to. I would like to ask for some guidelines which I could follow to select the same, right? So it's a good question. because I get this often. So you are not, maybe don't focus on trying to select an organization. Maybe try to focus on what kind of tech stack do you want to work in. If you want to, if you want to work for the Android tech stack, right, then you should go into the GSOC archives and search for Android. GSOC archives is it's a web page where you can find all the previous GSOC projects, along with the repositories, that is the organizations where people participated. And if you find something that is a match to your liking, choose that tech stack. So first decide your tech stack and then match some organizations related to that tech stack, right? Some of the other questions that I get are, how do I understand a large code base? How do I know that I know enough tech stack to start making big and complex open source contributions? It's a valid question, because large code bases, like it's kind of scary to look at them because it's such a big code. How, right? It gets scary sometimes. What people need to understand is that the functionality that they want to introduce into the code base is localized to a very small part of that code. All you have to do is you have to target that very small piece of code that needs to be changed. You only have to understand a very small piece of it. So when you contribute to more issues, what happens is you get yourself familiar to more pieces of code into that same code base. After some time, you start finding patterns, like something is there that repeats in each of these files. There can be 10,000 files on the code base, right? And at some point, you will start finding patterns that, okay, this is something that, this is how we communicate, this is how we persist data on our system, this is how we share data between two screens. You start finding patterns. You just have to find that localized region where you have to make a change and just make it. And also keep this in mind that when you run into issues or confusions, you should be able to communicate it to the team, because that is very important. Communication is important. You should not always think that you have to do everything by yourself, because there are people who are there to help you. Of course, there are good questions and there are stupid questions, right? And stupid questions are the ones that you can easily Google, but you decide not to. Like Googling gets you everything. Today, you even have ChatGPT, right? But do ask questions, even if it feels stupid initially. Initially, you should try to ask as many questions as you can without worrying about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What mistakes did you make in your open source and tech journey? What did you learn from it? I have a take on this actually. I think I tried to speed up things a lot and I did not enjoy in the moment. For example, there was a documentation period, the proposal making period. Even after you get into GSOC, the proposal is not up to the mark, right? It is, when you got into GSOC, that means that your proposal was one of the best proposals there were. But there is some polishing that it can still get, right? Before you actually start with the code. I never enjoyed the documentation periods, which by the way, I should have. I realized it very later that it's documentations too that you can show to your potential employers. Also, documentation gives you a very clear plan of what you need to do ahead. See, if you have a big problem in front of you, and if you can just write the problem down, and I would stress on this again, if you can write the problem in words, if you can explain the problem to someone, half the problem is solved. Trust me, half the problem is solved even if you can write the problem down. After that comes the solution. Because see, it's very prevalent that most times when we are trying to solve some issue, we do not actually understand the issue. And this is something that you would come to understand when you actually start getting your hands dirty into this GSOC thing, right? Uh, so please enjoy every phase of your GSOC journey, be it documentation, be it coding, be it finishing up or responding to reviews, be it communicating with your team. You should enjoy each and every process, and you should document each and every process. By document every process, I mean write everything down that you learn. Uh, Make it a habit that if you have a mentor, just tell them that this is what I did today, this is what I intend to do tomorrow. This is my plan, and this is what was actually done. Apart from that, you can also maintain a log for yourself that this is something that I learned today. It helps, and you only come to realize it after it's gone. So I'm discussing my mistakes here, so you should learn from it.
Okay, so another question I have is, ऐसा बहुत बार होता है कि हम contribute कर रहे होते हैं and we come across a lot of bugs and we are not able to, you know, overcome it or solve it for a very long time. So how do you overcome that, and how do you get through that phase?
I assume you're talking about errors that you make while trying to code.
Right.
Yes, that happens, and it can get very frustrating sometimes. The thing is that you have to stick with it. At times, it happens that even after even after having the experience that I have today, uh, it can sometimes take weeks to get an issue solved. Uh, there is something that I would like to share that happened during GSOC. So you try to get PRs merged into the code base, and you work on the issues. Once what happened was I was solving an issue, and that did not get approved for even 3 months. The PR did not get approved even for 3 months. I was solving the good first issues. Like there's a filter in GitHub where you can select the issues, and you usually select the good first issue because you are just starting to contribute. I picked the good first issue there, which was by mistake wrongly marked as a good first issue. In the initial phases, it actually looked like a very easy issue, and I started working on it. I solved half of it, but the other half was left, which no one noticed, and it kind of slipped into the code, and it became a very difficult issue. But no one was noticing that somehow. But I kept on like trying on it, and I always kept my communication with the team very clear that this is where I am stuck. Uh, this is before the GSOC period, by the way. So they would give me some review. Actually, they also didn't know the answer to that issue. That was an issue that was kind of a complicated issue, but it was there on the code base. I kept on working on that issue, but I would just annoy people. I would really annoy people that I still cannot make it work. That this kept on happening until several months, but since I started in October, it did not slip into the GSOC period. So that is where the window space comes into play, comes into the importance. What I'm trying to share here is, towards the very end of my GSOC journey, my mentor shared that, Jishnu, even if your proposal was much less better in terms of technicality than it was, we would still have selected you because we saw the tenacity you had there. Because you never left the issue that you aren't going to solve it anymore. You were there with it. I made a very fairly technical. It was a very technical proposal, but someone said that even if it wasn't that much technical, you might have still had a very high chance of getting selected because the tenacity, the grit was there. This is your answer. Like, there are some issues that no one knows the answers to, and that's why these issues are there. But if you are so much lucky as to get a chance to work on one, I know that you would be stuck, but you would learn so much more. I had so many trials and errors working on that particular issue, and I know 10 methods that won't work, but I finally came onto the one that would work. So there's a lot to learn there.
Okay, so how was your overall experience with GSOC, and what was your most favorite part of the GSOC timeline?
Uh, the most favorite part of GSOC was the day when I actually got the news that I got selected. That was the most fun day. Uh, After that, it kind of got very stressful, to be honest. But yeah, um, the best feeling that was, it was about that. Yes, I have created something that is like one of a kind. It's world's first one of a kind system. The ones who get to read my proposal shall know about it. But yeah, when you participate in GSOC, you are fortunate as to get something that's a world's first system, maybe, and that is something that makes me happy.
तो ओवरऑल एक्सपीरियंस कैसा था पूरी टाइमलाइन में यू नो
I wasn't enjoying the documentation part so much, but I realized that I should have. I started working on फिर वो brainstorming वाला there's this brainstorming वाला period that you really like, where you discuss with the team that how you should go about with it. Those are the most fun ones. You don't just care about the code, you also care about the product, and the product is inclusive of not just code, it is inclusive of many other things. It's inclusive of the feeling that comes with it, with the product. So you get to learn so much more, and you get to talk to so many people with new ideas. And there's then people who themselves come to you and they they like to talk to you. So that's the most fun part.
absolutely the attention rate I mean that comes with it.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not the least, what are some of the common mistakes that students make, and what are some of the mistakes that you made that people who are trying to participate in GSOC 24 can avoid, or some things that could have been done better, maybe?
Okay, so there's one thing that I'd like to share here. The GSOC proposal making process is not an easy process. It's a fairly difficult process. You have to assemble all your mental faculties at one place in order to get that GSOC process done, a proposal done, right? What some people do to increase their chances of getting into GSOC is they try to make a proposal for multiple projects, and it is something that is also allowed. It's not wrong to do that. It's not, yeah, you can do that, but it divides your attention into two places, right? Not very efficient in my opinion, because even just creating the proposal for one of these projects, it took my days and nights. It's a difficult process. So maybe just try to focus on one that you really like. It's just a tip. For people who want to search for organizations, what you should do is, let's say that you want to search for organizations in Android, right? And let's say that I know that one of the organizations that participates in GSOC with the Android category is Opia, let's say. What I can do is I can star this here. When you do this, you should star this, and you should also fork it. When you fork it for your own reference. But when you star it, what happens is, this is a pro tip, by the way. When you star it in the Explore repositories section, it might one day just recommend you one of the organizations that you didn't even know was there, that you can just explore and participate. It can help you someday.
Okay, thank you so much, Jishnu, for doing this. Thank you so much for taking out time.
Sure, I'm always happy to help.
I'm sure a lot of students would benefit from this. Okay, any last words or any last tips that you would like to share before we end this?
Yes, so just remember that getting into GSOC is not everything. Like most things that you can get from GSOC, you can get it without it as well.
Very important.
This is one thing. The other thing is that even if you do get into GSOC, just enjoy the process. Enjoy every phase of it. One thing that you should come out with at the end of it is be good at communication. We are not talking about language here. We are talking about being able to say what you think, being able to explain what your idea is.
Express yourself.
Yeah, there can be like fairly technical things which you want to convey to the other person, and that person may or may not be from tech. Yet you should be able to communicate your ideas well. Otherwise, it's no use. So enjoy the process.
I'll put all the relevant resources and Jishnu's social media handles in the description below. Make sure to check it out. And thank you so much for watching this video.